Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello there. My name is Salim Javed and I am an assistant professor at the Faculty of Mass Communication and Media Technology at SJT University. We are producing a series of videos which will help you understand some of the basic concepts and facts about mass communication. We are picking up papers and topics which are a part of your syllabus and try to present them in interesting manner, so that the information becomes handy whenever you need it. We have selected papers like television production and television journalism and have turned many of its topics into interesting videos, which are the part of your syllabus at graduation and post-graduation level across India. Well, these papers may sound a little bit tough or less interesting, but I'm very sure that in a journey with us, we will try to make these topics and these papers very interesting for you. We will try to analyze the different mediums, their nature, language and functions. We will try to understand what is the difference between the non-fiction television program script and half an hour soap opera script. We will also try to find out the difference and similarities between the scripts of a short film and a full-length feature film. Besides this, we will also evaluate different formats of scripts and many more topics. Through this journey, we will learn the different stages of production and the profile of important personnel involved in the production process. We'll also talk about history development of different mass communication mediums and their journey so far. We will also be seeing who discovered what, when and how. Well, someone can argue after listening so much that what is there in history to know? Let bygone be bygone. Well, you are absolutely right. But let me clear one thing very precisely here, that students, those who are aware of their historical background of their subjects, they possess one very amazing quality which helps them throughout their professional life, and that one thing which helps them throughout their professional life is called structure or structures. So if you are a student of history, geography, mythology, sociology, psychology or any science stream, or for that matter, of mass communication, which you are, this structure will help you when you become a professional and start working in market. In your professional life, you will be meeting different kinds of situations on a daily basis. Trust me, many of these situations you will be facing, they have occurred in past also. So, when you know the historical background of your subject, you know where to look for answers. But how do you know it? Because you have studied about it and you may have discussed about it with your teachers, friends, somebody must have told you, you must have studied it yourself. So in a situation like this, you already know the answers of that particular problem and your chances of solving that problem becomes higher. So it is like you are already done with the review of literature in advance. So with the hypothesis in mind, apply the methodology, and after the interpretation of collected data, obviously the current situation will become the data. So I'm sure that you will have all the answers for your problem. This is what structure gives you. It is basically a way to stay ahead in your field, and not only this, you are able to predict the market of the future simultaneously. These entire videos are made of 19 videos. These 19 videos are divided in 3 modules. So module 1 will have 5 videos, and so let's see what we'll be learning in these 5 videos. So the very first video, which means this video, is about understanding media and mediums. Video 2 is about the history of photography. Video 3 is about history of cinema. Video 4 will deal with the history of radio, and video 5 will deal with the history of television. In module 2, where we have 9 videos, which means from 6 to 14 videos, video number 6 to 14, I mean to say. So let's know what we'll be learning in those videos. In video 6 is about film grammar, which is the part 1 of film grammar. Video 7 is the part 2 of the film grammar. Video 8 is about understanding film sound. Video 9 is about understanding the different stages of production. Video 10 is about different production personnel. 11 deals with the history of editing. Obviously, we will be holding a practical session, how to edit kind of a thing on FCP. And video 12 is about understanding film writing. Video 13 is about documentary film and documentary proposal, and how to write documentary in a particular format. And video 14 is about understanding short film and serial writing. In module 3, which has got 5 videos from 15 to 19, we will be learning, in video 15, we will be learning about the history of print media in India. Video 16 deals with the topic of journalism. Video number 17 deals with the topic of print media journalism. Video 18 will be dealing with the television journalism, and the last video will deal with the topic of new media and journalism. So this is so far the entire structure of all the videos. I'm sure that the exploration of these topics with me will be an interesting kind of a journey. So let's start with our first topic, which is understanding media and mediums. So the very first heading that you are seeing on your screen talks about visual density, and it is written that in no other form of society in history has there been such a concentration of images. Well, this is a fact. It's true, but let me tell you something very interesting here. When you heard the topic for the first time, what actually came to your mind? Well, you must have watched a lot of television, films, cartoon, and many more things so far. And you know one thing for sure, that there are lots of images, and there is sound, obviously. Then you have got edit also, and these sound and visuals are put in a logical order, so that it may look logical to you, because there is a proper system to do it. The way you put audio and visual together, and together they actually create meaning. Though visuals and sound as independent medium are capable of creating specific meaning at their own. When we talk only about radio, it has audio, and when we talk about silent films or photography, it has only visuals. We are talking about visuals, lots of visuals. But when we see audiovisual product like cartoon, talkies, and many similar products, they are the mixture of audio visuals. Advertisement is a mixture of audio visual, documentary is a mixture of audio visual. Then you have news programs, many comedy shows, and all these things have like one thing in common. Actually, they have lots of visuals. And when we are talking about television production, or when we are talking about television journalism, actually we are trying to understand these visuals. During this journey with me, I'll help you understand the nitty-gritty of these visuals, how they are conceived, what makes these visuals, why you in a particular situation are using a particular type of shot and not some other shot instead. Right now, as you can looking at me, there is a medium shot of mine, which means more emphasis on the subject, which is me, while keeping equal emphasis on the surrounding as well. This is a shot which is mostly used in the conversation shots in films, television, cartoons, and all the audiovisual mediums. It is not medium close-up shot, which is slightly chest up, which typically favors the face. Please do not worry about these shot types or these words. I'll be talking about different kind of shots and their meaning in video number 6. Also, when I am talking about this particular video is supported by my voice, which in this case is audio, so how this sound complements the visual and how visual complements sound, and how they look so convincing, how these audiovisual medium affect us so much, how this mixture of audiovisual entices us, why are we so attracted towards this medium. You have read so many things by now, but many of us are not able to remember many of those things. But if you have seen something, some particular image of some particular text, you remember it. Does it mean that we forget what we read, or does it mean that we retain what we have seen? So if I say something like seeing is believing, that happens because you see it, so you believe it. So if I say seeing is believing, then in this statement, is this a statement true? When we come in this world, we start seeing first and we talk later, but because we know how to see, but we do not know how to speak when we come in this world. So this entire episode, this entire program is about understanding the medium of seeing. How do we see it? What it takes us to see. Interestingly, there are many amazing facts when it comes to seeing. Suppose you are looking at me right now in this video and you see the world map behind me. So what you are looking at, these books, Africa, South America. So we are always looking at things in relation. The visuals and the relation of these visuals with us, our journey is continuously active, and it is continuously moving, continuously holding things in circle around ourselves. It is continuously reminding that we are present in this world. What we have been learning so far can be interpreted from different angle also. What if what we have just learned so far, the same set of knowledge is given from a different perspective? Well, it can be a very interesting exercise and also a new way of learning about audiovisual medium. So let's start this different interpretation of the same text, same knowledge, but from a different angle. Now let's start it. So the same knowledge with a different question, like the question can be, what is more important, seeing or seeing? So let me repeat my question again. What is more important, seeing or seeing? So the question is about visual and verbal. Well, it's a tricky question because what I'm asking you, whether your left eye is important or your right eye is important. Well, I'm sure it's a difficult question to answer because both the eyes are important, isn't it? So visuals and verbal, both are important respectively. So the question is not about the importance, but with what comes first. A child sees first and speaks later, but how do you establish that a child is able to see? When your eyes meet the eyes of other, you react accordingly, or you feel observed or behave in a certain way. The mannerism establishes that you are seeing. The act of seeing is also the act of being seen. If seeing and being seen establishes your relationship with the visual world, then what is visual perception? Well, visual perception is the perceptual processing activity of the brain which helps make sense of what you are seeing with your own eyes. The sensory processing of visual perceptual skill and the ability to register our environment from the light reflected from the objects that enters our eye is called visual perception. Visual perception is a brain activity, and it happens when brain receives electrochemical signals. The photoreceptor cells, which are part of the retina, translate light into electrochemical signals which are transmitted via optic nerve and thalamus, and visual perception takes place in the brain's cerebral cortex. If you follow this explanation, you are understanding vision simultaneously. It is the vision that helps us separate foreground and background in sublime array of spatial orientation. This relationship of background and foreground becomes the takeoff point for German psychologist Max Wertheimer, along with Wolfgang Kohler and Kurt Kafka, to come up with Gestalt psychology and develop theories around how people perceive the world. They are of the opinion that the perception is not just a simple combination of simple sensory stimuli, but much more. So, all of it reminds me of persistence of vision, which I personally find very close to the Buddhist doctrine of momentariness about detached transitory unit. It is this detached transitory unit which exists in time and not in the nature of time. Our nature is to see things in relation. What if? Whereas, what if we want to observe how we see things? It is this relationship that confuses us. The image that you are seeing on your screen is a vase as long as you are seeing it in terms of detached transitory unit. The moment you get into nature of it, the foreground and the background exist, and you start seeing two faces in the same image. It is the causality, if this happens then that happens, which establishes the relationship. But to understand the relationship, we have to take path of detached transitory unit, as done by German psychologist Max Wertheimer. Now, soon after we learn that we are seeing, there is another interesting development which is happening simultaneously, which say that we can also be seen. Now, suppose through this video you are looking at me right now. You are seeing the way I am looking. Now, imagine a situation that you are in a room which is full of people and nobody is noticing you, though you are physically there. Then suddenly there is a kind of a doubt whether you exist in this room or not. So when your eyes with other eyes combine, so then you get the sense of being seen. So seeing and being seen are two important poles of equation. Now, from time immemorial, humans have tried to capture or preserve what they have been seeing when we did not have any tool, when we did not know how to write, when we did not have pen or a paper, when we did not know any tools. Even then we were picking up stones and started carving out on the cave walls. Then we discovered paint, we started painting simultaneously. Then we also discovered brush, and then by 1415 Gutenberg came, and then we started printing text on mass scale. Painting was there, but it was a time-taking process. Getting yourself painted was a very time-consuming affair. Metals were discovered, so later on we started casting statues and coins. We started painting on walls, we started painting on canvas. So whatever means were available, we started using them. There was another interesting fact about this, the human nature of preserving and capturing. We want to preserve even people also. If you know about the mummification process, this entire process, of preserving people, so they used to believe in afterlife, and they used to place, things of daily usage with the coffin, so that when they wake up, so they find all these things and they do not face any problem and live comfortable life hereafter. So that mummification process, that belief was there. So this habit of holding and capturing has been since time immemorial in human beings. This habit has helped us develop the way we have been developing. So there is a desire to develop things. We have a strong desire to capture things. If you know about Lascaux caves, which is there in France, and there are paintings which date back to 15,000 BC to 13,000 BC. And if you look at those paintings, you find out that it's animals and human figures are there, but actually it is depicting the hunting process. A sort of a story how they used to hunt is presented. So how they were doing it at that point of time. So even when we did not have tools, since then we have been preserving what we have been seeing, obviously the images. Now, through these visuals, we are trying to say a story, and interestingly, the early humans also have used different forms of a story. Suppose when these cave painters, I mean, no painters, just who have made it, were making these paintings, hunting process has already taken place. So they were painting actually something which was technically not happening at that particular point of time. So if I may say in another word, like image were first to capture the appearance of something that was absent. So this is to say, it's just like before the invention of camera, man believed that he or she is the center of the world. Now, like when you go to mosque, when you go to temple, when you go to gurudwara or church, and if nobody is there, where do you stand? You stand in the center of in front of the god, in the center. So this is basically used, there is a garbhagriha, and you go and stand there. So this tendency of standing in the center is basically coming from that man or woman is the center of this world. So when we say that in other times in history, like in no other times in history, we are surrounded by so many visuals, there is a meaning, there is a reason. And photography, for example, gradually took over the function of what was of painting. The function of painting was obviously to paint people the way you look at them, not the way they are. But when photography came, it actually captured a photograph of people the way they are, nothing added. So, if I am like slightly fat, then so I'm slightly fat. When you are looking at me in the visuals, I am not being chiseled, I am not being, touched up, I am not being made more handsome, but I am the way I am. So when you look through this camera, you are just looking at me the way I am. I am not a painting right now. I am not being beautified as we do in painting. I am in front of you the way I am. This is what the photography or the camera does or did. It started presenting people the way they were. It became, in a way, the first-hand visual report. There was no, adulteration. There was like first-hand visual information, and that is the reason that in the court of law, a photograph is considered a legal document because it presents fact as it is. Now, photographs also recorded things the way we cannot see. Like if there is a very small thing which I'm not able to see, through camera, by using proper lens, I can see that small thing which otherwise cannot be seen. So not only it started functioning as a machine, it also started functioning as an art form. So when we talk about visuals, we are also talking about like television production, we are also talking about television journalism. Why? Because they use a lot of visuals. So understanding visuals become very, very important. While you can say photography is a different medium, film is a different medium, well, you are absolutely right. The photography is a different medium, but let me tell you that no invention in the field of mass communication happens in isolation. So one development actually helps another development to come forward. Now, let us discuss that why we are surrounded by so many visuals. When we did not have tools, we used to use stones and used to make paintings in wall. Then proper painting tradition came. Then we started making portraits. After that, printing came, then still camera came, then more motion camera came, then DSLR, now mirrorless, and many other things. And simultaneous things like there was development in music, performing arts, printing press. So there are a lot of parallels going on. There are tremendous development in all these fields, but but let's focus on visuals. In the beginning, we had camera obscura, then there were many experiments to fix captured image. Then came Joseph Nicéphore Niépce. He made the first permanent picture, then daguerreotype, then collodion wet plate process, then dry plate process, then with that fast mechanical shutter, zoopraxiscope, roll paper film, and all these developments helped familiarizing us to the development of machine and the art form. But a great deal of technical expertise was required for handling earlier these equipments. So learning about them was not that easy as it is today. Like today, you buy a camera, a phone, and you start clicking. So it was basically how it became so accessible and popular. So it was technologies like 35 codec film roll, which was introduced in 1935, and in 1948 polarized pictures were used, which have the direct positive. And then as far as moving camera is concerned, Bolex H16 with the reflex model and non-reflex model. Then in 1940 Bolex was used in home for home videos around 70s, and to be more precise, 73 Kodak introduced its Super 8 format package film with full coated strip on one side, which recorded sound along with the image. Actually, it revolutionized the amateur filmmaking process. In 1883, Sony introduced Betacam BMC 100 and 110. Both proved to be very convenient for day-to-day use, and people were using these devices Sony VHS came, and then those who know about the rivalry between Betacam and VHS format, then it was a huge rivalry by 1984. Then in 1985, Sony introduced a mini DV camera. Most of us, my generation, have started using mini DV camera onwards. So we were done with that big bulky cassettes, and then mini DV model DCR VX 1000. It was introduced by 1995. In 2000, Hitachi MV100 introduced this DVD RAM camcorder, and then we started directly recording on DVD disc. And like another interesting development was there, which is like around 99 and 2000, many companies started claiming that they have combined camera with the cell phone. It is actually very difficult to find out who did it first. So that's the only reason that I have put this time frame, 99 and 2000. There were many companies who started claiming that they have combined camera with the cell phone, and today we have high resolution cameras in phone. Like in 2005, Panasonic introduced AV HGX 200, in which they basically fixed a high definition lens with the camcorder. Now, the reason for me to tell you all these things, that all these developments that I have told you, is basically to make you aware that because of so many developments, we started using devices, and these devices actually became so easily available that they came into mainstream, and people started using them just like that, which resulted in so many visuals. Like you take out your phone and you start clicking. So earlier there used to be one camera, so taking one photograph used to be a task, but today you just click so many photographs, so many visuals, and in no other time of the history have been taken. So today we take just visuals like anything. So it means to the availability of gadgets, camera, so they are so easily available. I mean, they were not available 50 years back or 100 years back. So it is basically the availability of the things, and they have been adopted. They are the part of the mainstream thing. Today we can easily buy many of them. As a result, technology like these have actually given birth to so many visuals. There are another developments which are also which have also contributed in the in increasing the density of these visuals. Like in 1992, Indian like a lot of foreign channels came to India, like MTV, Star Plus, BBC. So many things started. CNN came. They started, in fact, showing people war, live war, which people have never seen before. They were watching Doordarshan, and this actually, like other also, HBO also came, Discovery Channel also came, Toon Disney, Nickelodeon. So they all of them started beaming in India, and it actually opened a kind of a Pandora box. Around in 2003, around 2003, in fact, television industry was at boom. So there were a lot of things happening. Now, the next topic in the series is where we will talk about words like media and medium. Look at the word medium. What actually we are talking about here is outlet. One of the outlets through which you can communicate with masses. But what is medium? When I say medium, I'm talking about news media, I'm talking about photography as a medium, I'm talking about cinema as a medium, I'm talking about broadcasting as a medium, which has got radio and television in it. Medium is a singular entity. So it is a singular noun, but interestingly, medium has got two plurals. One is called media and other is called mediums. But to my surprise, I have been using media as a singular verb. Now let me explain this with an example. How am I using media as a singular verb whereas it is plural? If I say I'm an important person and there are some people to take my interview, how will I say it? I will say media is standing outside. I will not say media are standing outside. So media is standing outside, whereas media is a plural verb, but I'm using it as a singular verb. So when I'm talking about media, I am talking about different outlets of mass communication. Now let's move to our third point, which is about communication outlets. Now I have already told you about outlets. For example, television is an outlet or a platform, photography is an outlet, cinema is an outlet, radio is an outlet, and there are many different outlets. When I'm talking about communication outlet, it has got two parts. One is outlet and the other one is communication. Now let's understand what communication is. So let's understand. Well, according to Shannon, he says communication is a tool that makes societies possible and distinguishes humans from other societies. There are other very meaningful definitions like which Rogers has given in his book Barriers and Gateway to Communication, where he says that communication is a process of transmitting ideas, information and attitudes from a source to our receiver for the purpose of influencing with intent. Now, influencing with intent, these are very important words. Something like that, if you understand the meaning of influencing with intent, you understand the entire business of image making process, be that television journalism, be that film or anything. Because here we are trying to influence you and have an intention, and you want your receiver to have a particular response to your content. So when Rogers say influencing with the intention or intent, he's basically talking about the sender and the receiver's relationship and about what you are expecting from the sender as a receiver. So understanding this influencing with intents become very, very important. And there is another definition by Barrelson and Stenner. They say that the transformation of information, ideas, emotions, skills through the use of symbols, word, pictures, figures and graph. So you are transferring the information with other aids also. So whether you like it a particular medium or you don't like a particular medium, whether you eulogize or abhor the medium, They were there, they are there, and they will be there. So it was, media was before me, media is with me, and it will remain even after me. So like as long as this world is there, at least for coming future, media will be there. So there is a need to study this medium. We should understand this medium, which is like before us, with us, and after us, because as a human being, we have to grow in terms of society, in terms of moral, in terms of environment, in terms of spirituality. And media actually helps us develop our intellectual capacity also. Like, it helps us in understanding the world, it helps us understanding what is happening in the field of environment, how we can build our career, how our different economy is growing, and what people in science and technology are doing, what's going on with the COVID vaccine also. So when you look at media, you are actually trying to understand the world through this window called media. I physically cannot go everywhere and start understanding things, but this world of media, through different mediums, actually bring this world to me. It helps me develop my understanding, it helps me develop my perspective. How am I going to see the world? So, which brings us to one of the objectives of communication on the societal front. Like, communication has got societal obligation, communication has got organization obligation. Suppose if I talk in terms of societal obligation, what am I talking is that it gives us information. Different media or different mediums gives us information, it educates me, it ensures that I am aware of my socio-political surrounding, it entertains me also, it persuades me also, and interestingly, it dissuades me also. So when I say you may abhor or eulogize, so you may eulogize the media because it educates you, it enforces message, it persuades you, and you can abhor the media because it dissuades you. So it is basically up to you how you take the media. Now, if we look at the organizational objectives in an organization, there is an internal environment, there is an external environment, there are primary goals, there are secondary goals, and many other things also. So when I'm talking about all these things, we are actually talking about the nitty-gritty, or we are talking about the definition of communication. We are also doing what we are basically doing is we are understanding different outlets of communication and communication itself. And while communicating, I have intention, a certain intention when I am sending a message as a sender, and there is a kind of an expectation from the receiver. Influencing with intent, again, as Rogers said, influencing with intent is there when we are talking about communication outlets. When we are talking about media, we are talking about mediums, and which actually brings us to our next heading, which is basically the nature of medium, or nature of mediums also. So when I'm talking about the nature of medium, I'm talking about the sender and receiver and the desired result equation. Well, again, I'm putting the Rogers definition in a different in a different way, that there is a sender, there is a receiver, and there is a desired result. In Rogers definition, the word influencing people with intent, there is one very interesting thing that comes to my mind right now. When I was in my mass communication, the college phase, and when we all were introduced to models of mass communication, to be very honest, that was very tough for all of us, and for me also, as many of us were trying to figure out why there are so many models, why we are made to study these models, why do we have to struggle so much to understand these models. Most of us were not able to figure it out. But later on, when most of us started working as professionals, it was when these models actually started making sense to me. This understanding, like force me to go back to my class notes. I had class notes till then, my class notes, and study them again, and I actually saw meanings in those models at that point of time also and today also, because this model actually help you understand the equation of sender and receiver and what are the factors that can influence the message. I was doing it practically in my life, and I'm doing it practically in my life. Then I learned how we can influence the sender, how we can influence the receiver, and how we can influence the message simultaneously. So when I'm talking about the nature of medium, I want to tell you about the models of communication in an interesting way. I promise that, because we are talking about communication through different mediums. It is a relationship between content creator and the consumer. Suppose you are as you are watching a film which has been created and produced by someone else. The creator of that film is expecting the audience to behave in a certain way, like when to laugh, when to cry, when to feel angry, when to feel sad. And it is also expected that the audience should like the content. So there is a sender, there is a receiver, and there is a element of influencing with the intent. So when I say that there is a sender and there is a receiver and there is a expected desired result from the people, so actually it opens up the domain of all the communication models. Like one of the oldest model, which is Aristotle model, and it says that there is a speaker who delivers a speech and there are audience on whom you have the effect, because you are listening to my speech right now. So my speech will have a kind of an impact on you. An amazing thing about Aristotle model was the one word which was there in between the speaker and the audience, and it is occasion. So if I say there is a speaker and there is a speech, there is audience, there is a effect. So between speech and audience there is one thing which is called occasion, and this occasion is the one which is basically hidden element in Aristotle model, which indicates that it can influence all the four things like speaker, speech, audience, and effect. So if we know the occasion, what is the occasion, then we know how to speak, how to deliver our speech, and what effect will it have on audience. So that was Aristotle model. Then there are other models like Harold and Laswell model, which is basically finding out the structure and function of communication in society. It says who says what to whom, through which channel, and with what effect. So all these who say what to whom, with what channel, with what effect, this is what Laswell model of communication is. Then there is another model called Shannon and Weaver model, which actually talked about noise source for the first time, and this model has got information which is transmitted through a channel. There is a receiver, a destination, and in between you have got message, signal, noise source, revised signal, and message. So they are also talking about entropy and redundancy. They are talking about noise, so many things. But understanding that there is information and there is destination, the first word which Shannon and Weaver also pick up is information. So the source, or the last word that they in their model is destination. So again, it is the sender and the receiver kind of an equation. Now if we look at Osgood model of communication, it is so interesting that it flips the side. Right now I am instructing you through this video, you are listening to me. So technically I am an encoder, and through this medium, when you are listening, you are decoder of my statement. So I am an encoder through a medium, you become the decoder. Now imagine that if you say something to me, then you are the encoder and you will be saying it through a medium, and I will be the decoder. So what Osgood model of communication says, that encoder is also a decoder, decoder is also an encoder. It depends upon which side of the communication is flowing. So there is a medium in between. When we look at the Wilbur-Shestram model again, there is source, there is sender, there is a receiver, there is a medium. But interestingly, what it proposes is that the medium can also give feedback along with the receiver. This is what makes this model very interesting. And when we look at George Gardner's model, there are circles, there is a line, and then again there is a circle, and then line, and then things like that. What he is actually talking about is actually he's talking about event, and he is talking about perceptual dimension and the way we perceive, and then the statement about the percept of the event that you have. So it is basically the perceptual dimension, the perceived events, the perceived elements, and obviously the percept of a statement about the event. Now, another important model like Newcomb model, which is also called ABX model, is also very interesting. Again, there is a sender, there is a receiver, but there is a matter of concern also in this. Therefore, A can be sender, B can be receiver, and X is basically the matter of concern. So let's understand it through an example. Like, I am A, you are B, and now think it for a moment that why am I communicating like this to you? Because there is an external factor actually giving birth to this kind of a situation, and basically that is lockdown. Now the lockdown is the matter of concern in this equation. So A, B and X, it's a triangle. If anything changes, it will affect the other two factors as well. So now imagine, suppose you and I are there in the same university, and somehow I am not able to come and teach you in the class, or maybe you are not able to come to college so that I can teach you. And there can be a third situation in which you are also there in the university, I am also there in the university, but we are not able to study. Like suppose some cultural program is going on, so I am not able to teach you. So again there is an A, B and X, and whichever the situation is or whichever the factor is, the change in one situation will affect the two elements. So this is what Newcomb model is talking about. And then there is Westley and Maclean model. This model is actually very interesting because it introduced the concept of gatekeeping for the first time. You can gather information from different sources, but what makes journalism different is this gatekeeping process. You know that every event is not journalism, but what makes it interesting, again, it's only the gatekeeping process. There are other things also, like this model is relevant in interpersonal as well as mass communication context simultaneously. The only difference is that the feedback process in interpersonal communication is high, and this feedback process in mass communication process is slow. So one of the other qualities of this model is credibility, that we are getting the news from a right source. You can check back the source, though the news is available on different platforms and through different mediums, but there is an issue with the news these days. Like you do not know which news is important, how suddenly a small news is made national news, and the news which has been made national news, is it really worth being a national news? Are we receiving the right information? There can be so many questions. We will be handling all these questions in 5 video lectures from 15 to 19, which is about journalism only. To give you a brief, journalism is basically the process of gathering, accessing, creating, editing and presenting right information. Now let us move to language of medium. What is it? What is called the language of medium? How does it look? How does it work? Why do we have to study this topic? To answer these questions, I would like to show you one of the films which is made by one of our students in the lockdown process. I want you to see this film. It's a short film, very carefully, because further discussion depends on understanding of this film also. and we will talk about the language of medium. So watch this film very carefully.
ड्यूटी कब से है अब?
ड्यूटी ऑन है, बस रिकवरी लिखती है।
गोलियों के घाव पट्टियों से भरा। आ जाना तू भी किसी दिन तिरंगे में, लाखों में तुल के। आजकल जो घर बैठता है उसे हीरो कहा जाता है। चाय पी ले।
Now, as you have seen the film, you must have understood the story of this short film. It's a tussle between father and son, the conflict between love and duty. It's made during the lockdown period, so there is some problem in sound. Moreover, the student convinced his father and mother to act in this film, so he directed them. He actually asked his parents to come and act. You can notice brilliant makeup which is done in this film. I am using this film because there is no copyright issue with the film. I asked my student, I took his permission, and he has allowed me to use this film, so that's why I'm showing you this film. So now let's talk about the language of film. Now, when you were watching this film, you must have noticed that there are different types of shots. Sometimes the camera was very close to the subject. Sometimes the camera was at a distance. So you were moving the camera. Sometimes you were tilting up the camera. You were tilting down the camera. So there can be, there can be high angle, there can be low angle. So there can be so many things. Like he thought of it, so there was a pre-production of it. There is a place, so there is a location. There is a production because he actually shot, then he edited it, so there is a post-production also, and he slightly publicized it also. Sir, I have made a film, please watch it, send it to your people. So this is what my link is. So it does not matter whether it's a small product or a big product, but you are following all stages of production. You are also incorporating actors. Somebody else will be working as a cameraman for you, somebody else will be working as a director for you. You must have noticed the makeup. So there was a makeup, there is somebody who has done the makeup also. You might have noticed the cut on the nose, the stitches here. So there are so many things. So it's a good makeup actually, and it's a student production, and that sort of a makeup, it's actually good. You must have noticed what is the story, what is the conflict between father and son. So when we are talking about the language of medium, which we will be discussing in detail in video 6 and 7, there we will pick up each short type, all the things that I have been saying: story, conflict, motivation, all these things, camera movement. So all these things will be picked up. Do not worry about this thing. Like sound, will be understanding sound in video 8. We'll be understanding editing also separately. These are like anything that I'm talking about right now, these are separate videos. Now the next topic is different type of television programs, as I have discussed a little bit about television production. So now let's talk about different television programs. This category is so broad, and like if I start giving you all that, it might confuse you. To keep it simple, for your convenience, all different types of television programs have been divided into two broad categories. Category 1 is about non-fiction programs, so entire programs of that, and second category is about fiction program. So there can be so many divisions, but to keep it simple, This is a simple format. Let's first discuss about non-fiction program. So it includes news-based programs, documentary, reality shows, variety shows, live shows, travel shows, makeover shows, and many other similar existing format. The fiction format includes the soap opera, feature film, telefilm, cartoon, advertisement, and now in today's scenario, web series and other similar existing formats. Now let us understand what is non-fiction and what is fiction. So when I first say non-fiction, we are basically talking about credibility, and when I'm talking about fiction, I'm actually talking more about entertainment. I'm using this word more very carefully because even non-fiction program can be entertaining and the fiction program can be credible also. So when I'm talking more about non-fiction, I'm talking about more credibility. When I'm talking about fiction, then I'm talking more about entertainment. If you see a film which is based on true events, aren't we talking about credibility? There are many non-fiction programs which are highly entertaining. Suppose you get an assignment from your college or university to produce a documentary film. Now, what comes to your mind? The first thing that comes to your mind is authenticity and credibility. And you know for sure, no, I'm not going to fictionalize it. You will, try to bring in more authenticity, and you will try to say, look, this is what I have seen and this is how it is. So now this element of as it is, this element as it is also associated with cinema. When majority of people saw cinema for the first time, the arrival of the train, they actually ran away from the cinema hall. They thought that this train is going to get over from us and we are going to die. So people ran away from cinema halls, and they said, oh my god, this is life as it is. So this is how this phase came. Actually what is happening, or actually how you have been seeing, this is how exactly it has been happening. So this is how this actuality gave birth to documentary tradition. There is another track which is opened by George Méliès. He was a French illusionist, he was a magician, and we will talk about him in the history of cinema. He bought camera to tell fictional stories. So the actuality track gave birth to documentary, and George Méliès track gave to fictional stories. Both are the two different styles of approaching the same audience. Now, when we talk about these things, all these fictions and non-fiction programs can have their pilot projects, they can have their prequel, sequel, they can have their remakes, reboots, they can have their spin-off also. So spin-off is actually when one program is based on some other program. So you call it this is a spin-off of that program. So be that fiction or non-fiction, these are like, there can be different genres also. In like news you have different beats, so understand beat as genre here. Now I'm very sure that in this 1 hour long journey with me, I must have solved some of your queries. In this series of 19 videos, each video is dedicated to a specific topic where we will try to explain the topic in an interesting manner so that you can easily remember the facts and concept. The information provided in this video will come handy whenever you need it, and I make sure that it remains an interesting voyage with me. I hope to see you in the next video. Till then, take care and stay safe.